Oh my god, you guys, sorry I haven't made a video in a while. I do have my ideas and I do have my evidence stacked up, but this one I have and I wanted to make real quick because I had a total freak out the other day. So I don't know if you see what's wrong with this picture perhaps. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and then maybe you can see a little bit. So I saw on the news the other day stories about Peloton bikes, Peloton exercise bikes. Now, when I was a kid in the 70s, I heard about Peloton bikes, but I didn't actually know they were exercise bikes. Of course, back in the 70s, we did have exercise bikes, but they weren't as, I don't know, they definitely weren't as high tech as they are now. But that said, I saw these articles the other day, these headlines the other day, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This looks so totally not right to me. The way the bike name is spelled, Peloton. And if you can see in my search engine entry, it says Peloton. And that's actually how I remember it always being spelled from when I was a kid. And I'll tell you that in a minute, but I will also say that even last year, when there was that big, like, shake 'em up about the exercise bike commercial where a guy buys an exercise bike for his wife because, well, ostensibly that he wants her to get in shape, but I think she just wanted to exercise. I wasn't offended by the commercial, but I could understand if you did look at it that way, why it would be. But even last year when there was that hubbub and kerfuffle, at least I think it was last year, I don't know. Time is all molding together for me. But even last year when I saw that commercial and I saw anything written down, I didn't notice that there was a problem. So anyway, obviously my problem is that I always remember it spelled Peloton rather than Peloton. And the reason that I remember it being spelled that way is because we had a Peloton bike shop in my hometown. So, and we would pass it all the time and I would read it. I would read the sign, Peloton. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe in the 1970s there was another bike company called Peloton instead of Peloton, and it was actual bikes that you took out on the streets, because I remember this bike shop being a bike shop that sold bikes that you took out on the streets. Street bikes, regular bikes, not bikes that you took out on the streets. You don't need to create a name for it just because we're talking about exercise bikes primarily. But in any case, what I thought to do is, I thought on the off chance that this bike shop might still be in existence in my hometown, I would look it up on the internet and see if I could find either any historical evidence of it or see if I could find a list of bike shops in my hometown. So I looked up a contemporary list of bike shops in my hometown and bike shops around my hometown, and Laughing Dog Bicycles was the first bike shop that came up, and I love that name. I don't know, I never heard of it when I lived there, but what a great name, Laughing Dog Bicycles. And that'd be pretty funny. I think a dog on a bike would laugh because it would like shake it all up and then the dog would fall off and then it would cry. So that would not be good. But in any case, Laughing Dog Bicycles, Hampshire Bicycle Exchange, I went through this whole list. The list extended into the adjacent towns. There was no sign of Peloton bikes, so I thought it might not have a historical footprint online. Maybe it never existed. Maybe I'm misremembering it, so on and so forth. And, of course, the last possibility was that, well, maybe they did spell it Peloton, and it was a different brand of bike, or maybe they just wanted to call their bike shop that. But I found an article about this guy. And, oh wait, I guess I didn't grab the title of it. But the title is pretty cool too. But I found an article of this guy who turned an artist. He became an artist and he used to do all these things. And they were listing all these things he used to do. And it says, his work was recently on exhibit at Provisions in Northampton, which brought him back to the community where for many years he owned Peloton Sports, a bicycle and outdoor sports equipment store. So that's the thing. So they did sell bicycles and outdoor sports equipment, and it always was spelled Peloton, according to this reality. But as early as last year, I never remember Peloton looking incorrect. So I don't know if this was just a change that happened, at least for me this year, as in a personal Mandela effect. I don't know if you've noticed anything, but it was just really, really strange. And I wanted to know if you guys think the new to me, Peloton bike spelling looks odd. So I found out this owner of the bicycle store in my hometown that I thought was Peloton, and it turns out it was Peloton, which again was so weird because around the time I was starting to learn to read, I remember passing that bicycle store with my parents on the way to the swimming pool, being excited to swim and reading all the signs on the way. And I always remember it as being Peloton, and it's also pronounced Peloton. But that said, in looking up Peloton and that store from my hometown, again, like I said, the store is no longer in existence, but it's got kind of a cool, like, ultra-dimensional art world kind of story to it. So it's really interesting. Maybe we'll see some interesting images we can parallel along the way, and if not, these are kind of some otherworldly images. So in any case, it's a cow with sunglasses on with bikers coming up behind him. Moo! Looks like the cow's wearing 3D sunglasses and about to watch a 3D movie, but he's looking the wrong direction. Unless, of course, the movie's really interesting and he's in the movie and looking in a mirror and watching himself in the mirror in the movie, or he's looking at himself in... I don't know why I'd have a mirror outside, but anyway, that could be a mirrored image, and that's the mirrored image of a cow in a 3D movie watching himself, which is kind of what the Mandela effect feels like. Anyway, very interesting article, not too long, so I'll read it to you and we'll see some of his artwork. This is Doug Dale is his name. DD. Doug Dale, like 2D, like 3D, like that cow's glasses. Oh my god, crazy parallels here. Doug Dale has been many things during his life: business owner, marketing representative, history teacher, and bicycle rider. But it was a traumatic event in the latter that led to his most recent incarnation, mixed media artist. I love that, mixed media, because it sounds just so like groovy. It sounds just so, what do you call it? Like otherworldly, but something else. Oh, this is one that caught my eye too. Like, that looks like combined parallel worlds, because that looks like an Edward Hopper painting. I don't know if you guys know the Edward Hopper, like, Depression era painter. If not, you should totally look him up, because his paintings are just so stark, and they just represent a world where there's not a lot of moneyed interest, yet they're kind of colorful and hopeful. And this reminds me of, like, one he had done on a street with a brick building and just like a brick building facade on a street. It was really cool. Okay, so back to the article. A little over 2 years ago, Dale, who divides his time between Amherst and Gill, suffered injuries during a crash in the tour of the Battenkill, North America's largest cycling road race, held in New York State. A broken rib cage and internal injuries ended his competitive cycling days, though he still rides for exercise. As he recuperated, Dale started tapping a long-standing interest in art, turning his hand to recreating favorite paintings by Van Gogh, Picasso. See, that's what he's combining it with, because this is like Edward Hopper. I hope we can find a Van Gogh one. Van Gogh, Picasso, and other artists' collages. Not long after that, he began devising his own work, weaving bicycle-related themes into collages. Ah, see, that's nice now. That he builds with colored tissue paper, gift wrap, paper, acrylic paint, urethane, and other materials. Let's see, what other images can we find here? What's that? Oh, that's hats and crows. Oh yeah, here's another bicycle one. In his work, clusters of racing bicyclists are seen weaving along city streets, through towns, and across the countryside. Other collages feature abstract figures against a static background in which the detail is built into their colorful jerseys, which Dale depicts in a range of patterns from psychedelic to aboriginal. Oh, now this one looks like classic African art. That's so cool. What really distinguishes Dale's work is its intricate construction, Some of his collages, I always want to say colleges, but then again, I'm from a college town. Um, some of his collages are made from hundreds of small pieces of paper. Can you imagine that? Hundreds, thousands, and it doesn't even look like paper. Like, that's the thing. It looks so smooth. Like, that looks like a rock right up there, or like not a rock, but like the inside of one of those crystals. Okay. So are made from hundreds of small pieces of paper. The energy it conveys and its sense of fun. His riders aren't actually on bikes. They're shown free riding in their characteristic hunched over form, eyes hidden behind sunglasses and heads covered with flared helmets. The effect is somewhat insectile. In fact, he calls one of his collages bugs on wheels. And this one looks like, I couldn't find bugs on wheels specifically, but I was trying to. But this one kind of looks almost ancient Egyptian with the headdresses the cows or the horses have on their head. Although that'd be funny if they were riding cows. Actually, that reminds me of a story about a cow. When I was younger, I was going to like the seaport town with my dad, and we were like driving along on the highway with my aunt, and we see this cow, and like the grass is kind of long because we're getting near the beach. And we see this cow alongside the highway, like running alongside the highway, like galloping. I've never seen a cow go that fast. And my dad, and I'm like, hey, Dad, Aunt Chris, look, it's a cow. And this cow's running, and my dad looks at the cow, and he goes, Yahoo, bossy, ride him, cowboy. And as soon as he finishes saying that, and the cow couldn't hear us because our windows were rolled up, and like it was all the way across the highway, so there was traffic. The cow, so my dad goes, Yahoo, bossy, ride him, cowboy. And the cow, like, all of a sudden steps in, like, some kind of hole, and the cow goes down behind the grass. Oh, that poor cow. In any case, it was just a funny story about a running cow. But yeah, those headdresses look Egyptian, or like reverse bike helmets. And then those guys are in their own bike helmets, too. That looks like bugs on hooves. But in any case, so in races, Dale says, I begin seeing patterns in the jerseys and the flow of the riders. You have this kaleidoscope of colors that's part of this sort of giant flowing river. You see it blending or bending and turning almost worm-like. I wanted to capture that energy, and I didn't really need the bikes. The movement, the texture is in the riders. A visit last year to the Massachusetts Museum of Modern Art in North Adams, where he viewed murals by Diego Rivera, inspired a Riviera-esque collage in which he added some of his bikeless riders to a small cityscape where workers are repairing a cobblestone street. But he says it was his bike crash. He says it was his bike crash and his foray into collage that unlocked his creative impulses. Even so, he said, I was loath to call myself an artist until other people started calling me that. Now he's turned it into full-time work with help of his partner Michelle Hurley, who designed his website www.dugartwork.com. That's dugartwork.com, and reproduces copies of the collages for sale. His work was recently on exhibit at Provisions in Northampton, which brought him back to the community where for many years he owned Peloton Sports, a bicycle and outdoor sports equipment store. Bicycling is still a big part of my life, even if I'm not racing, he said. I've just found a different place to focus my energy. So anyway, that's the article. And then it was this picture or collage of the bikers that kind of remind me of, well, I can't seem to find the Edward Hopper painting that I really wanted to compare it to, but I guess this is one of his most famous ones, the one they put on all the posters. You can see it's just so stark. There's like it looks like that guy in Valencia who does those TikTok videos where there's no people around except these are the people here, and everything is stark. There's just no, although for the Depression there's no garbage either. It's very sterile. It looks very unlived in, but very just like, well, it looks very clean and unlived in, but it also just looks like very unpopulated and imperfect in its perfections, I guess I should say. Let's see. I really wish I could find the one on the street corner though. It's got to be here somewhere. Yeah, but Edward Hopper is not really minimalism, I suppose, but it just really evinces the feel of the Great Depression. Sort of austerity, but a beautiful austerity. That's so weird. I can't, and you'd think, oh, here it is. It's this. So this reminds me of, whoops, this a little bit. Yeah. So in any case, guys, tell me what you think. Tell me what you know. Peloton versus Peloton, again, about a year ago when they had that big kerfuffle over the exercise bike and the non-fat woman getting an exercise bike as if she was supposed to be a fat woman. Okay, that's kind of mean, but in any case, she was a beautiful woman in the commercial, and everybody was offended by it. I never noticed the difference in spelling, even from my days of childhood when I was just learning to read. Anyway, that's about it. I would love it if you guys would weigh in. All right, like I always say, tell me what you think, tell me what you know, and peace out.